It just fits him so well. It really does.
Dr. Yates sent Leo to me to have a custom helmet made.
It's a congenital anomaly or congenital abnormality within his skull that allowed his brain to, in essence, leak out. And when we saw him kind of when he was much younger, it was truly brain, but now as he's aged, some of that brain has now sucked back into through that opening, through that fontanelle.
When he was a kitten, it was mostly just brain or this bulbous kind of mass on top of his head. As he's grown, it's not all brain now. It's mostly fluid.
They didn't know what it was, but he was basically and still is a normal kitten from behavior standpoint. But yeah, they just had no clue what it was. Had been told that thought it was brain but couldn't tell, and so that's kind of how it ended up with me to try to figure out what it is or was. So I think that the initial goal before we had the CT was we didn't realize there was that much skull there. So the initial goal of a helmet is to protect his brain tissue from being damaged, either incidentally from a littermate or another kitten or cat or housemate, or even just incidentally somebody maybe petting him too hard could have damaged that area.
He needed a helmet so that we could protect his brain and obviously the fluid in there. If Leo was to be playing with one of his littermates or one of his cat friends and they potentially put a claw through the thin skin on top of his head, he could potentially get an infection.
Anything I've asked, anything that, and if it needed more finances, they found it. If they, it's always been about making this kid adoptable, about, fixing this kid, and just making this kid as best as we can.
When Dr. Yates first came to me to make a helmet for Leo, kind of made a generic cat head helmet because I hadn't seen him before. Funny enough, that kind of prototype actually fit his head some. It was a little bit too big, and it didn't really fit his head very tightly. So when he'd move or shake his head, it would move around as well. And this would cause him to kind of like walk a little funny, like he was trying to walk underneath something. When Dr. Yates did Leo's CT scan, he needed to be anesthetized. And so I took that opportunity to actually wrap his head in some cellophane, and then I took just a Sharpie and made a pattern of where I thought the helmet should be on his head. That actually gave me all the measurements that I needed to be able to make a nice form-fitting helmet out of foam and thermoplastic. Really, I think the bigger success is Leo's foster group. They were very, very active in training him to wear the helmet. The first helmet that I made for Leo, when he was in clinic and I was trying to fit it and so forth, he'd only tolerate it for a couple of seconds. And I sent it home with them and asked them, hey, if we can get 2 seconds here, then maybe you guys can get 3, 4, maybe even 5 seconds at home. And if we can continue getting him to wear it for longer and longer periods of time and positively reinforce him for it, then he could potentially wear it all day and night and really even never have to take it off if he was that comfortable with it. So the whole goal was to really make this helmet a true positive thing in his life, that anytime the helmet came out into his world, he knew that he was going to get fed and he was going to get these wonderful rewards. You don't usually get into veterinary medicine to make money, but when you get to make tomato helmets for kittens, it really makes your day.